Okay, I want to welcome everybody here tonight. We are going to do another live show with Ask the Doctor. Dr. Jeremy Thornton is here to share his wealth of knowledge. We have just learned so many things. It's been a few months ago, he did one on leaky gut. And oh my gosh, I learned so much. You guys, if he explains it like he did last time, your knowledge, if you're like an amateur when it comes to health issue like myself, it's going to go to a whole new level. You're going to learn how like it splits apart, and as it splits and all the gunk gets down, and he's going to go into all that, and you're just going to love learning exactly what it is and why it affects the way that's what I love about him, is like for the dummies like myself. I mean, he just makes it in everyday language and you understand what it is. And then he also empowers you to know what can you do to go make it better. So, Dr. Jeremy, just take it away.
Hey guys, thanks for having me, Anna. And you know, I always say, because I was born and raised in Missouri, so it's easy for me to keep it down on just a common everyday folk level, right? And so I've been in practice for 23 years in Missouri, and my primary area of focus, I guess, my expertise is in autoimmune disease and chronic inflammatory conditions. And I really like to help people get to the root cause of their issues rather than just treating symptoms. And so you'll probably notice that theme as we talk about leaky gut, and kind of a different angle from typical maybe allopathic medical approach as we're looking at underlying causes. And so I hope that this information is valuable. I'm going to go quite quickly because we have a lot of material to cover, and partially because I don't want to keep you here all night. I value your time, and I'm honored that you chose to spend a few minutes with me tonight. And so I'm going to take good care of that time and give you a lot of value, I hope, and even answer questions. So if there's questions along the way, feel free to drop those in the chat as we go. I see we've got Canada and Missouri and California and Colorado in the house. So and we'll try to at least at the end circle back around and answer any questions, especially related to this topic. So we're going to talk about a condition called leaky gut, which kind of sounds like a funny name, I think. You know, it reminds me of a Tom and Jerry episode where you know, Tom got shot, and the only reason he got shot is because he drank some water and it just shot out of him, right? Because he was leaking. And that's kind of what leaky gut reminds me of. But leaky gut's a very real condition with very real consequences, and it's a big underlying part with autoimmune diseases. And so that's very important to me in my practice. And so we're also going to delve in a little bit, which we didn't do last time, and talk a little bit about a big component or a big cause of that, which is called yeast overgrowth, or oftentimes candida, which is this a certain species of yeast that's really common, and it creates its own whole host of health complications, as well as it's a common cause of leaky gut, among other things. We're going to talk about that, how to treat it, how to detect it, what to do about it. Near the end, I'm going to share my favorite recommendations and things to use to help these conditions, as well as I'm pretty excited about a brand new technology that is just being released here in the US that we've never seen anything like this before. And it's been a powerful addition to my practice in my clinic for helping patients with these conditions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so I can share some slides with you. Let's see here. All right, Anna, can you see my screen? Awesome. And keep those questions coming in the chat box if you have any. So these are some leaky gut symptoms. We're gonna talk about symptoms and where it comes from, and then we'll talk more about what exactly it is. These are leaky gut symptoms. So food allergies and intolerance, any GI symptom you can think of, weight gain, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, anxiety and depression, a whole host of mood disorders, skin issues, allergies, asthma, hormone imbalance, and like I mentioned before, autoimmune disease. And this is really kind of where leaky gut comes from, is a whole host of potential places that are in our history and in our lifestyle and in our diet, especially our standard American diet. So chronic antibiotic or NSAID use, right? Our aspirin and our ibuprofen use, mercury fillings, traumatic brain injury, chemo or radiation treatments. This is gut dysbiosis here is kind of what we're going to be talking about with yeast and candida. That falls into that category. Hormone imbalance, chronic inflammation, vitamin nutrient deficiencies. That could be in your history that could lead towards leaky gut. Other things could be in your diet. Many people are sensitive to gluten, and probably it's probably more the Roundup that's in the gluten, but that's another story and another webinar for that one. Nightshades, sugar, inflammatory fats, industrial seed oils, your corn oil and your canola oils and your sesame seed and sunflower and these types of highly processed oils cause leaky gut. Other lifestyle factors, environmental toxins, sleep deprivation, alcohol, chronic stress, liver toxicity. So these are all in the background, and many times several of these overlapping in the background that leads towards leaky gut. So we're going to focus on the dysbiosis component, which just simply means an imbalance of your good guys to bad guys, right? We have our good bacteria in there, and then everything's happy if we can have a good balance, right? It's normal to have a little bit of candida in our bodies, right? It's normal to have a little bit of yeast in our system. It's not normal to have it take over, right? And that's what happens when we get a candida overgrowth, which is one of the many things we talked about that can cause leaky gut. Okay, so we're gonna talk just briefly about candida, and then we're gonna dive back as a cause of leaky gut, and then we're gonna dive back in to leaky gut as we finish that out. So, like I said, candida is normal. We have it in our mouth. We have it in our skin. Ladies have it in the vagina. We have yeast in our GI tract, and it's normal. Okay, but when it gets an opportunity, yeast is very opportunistic, right? If it gets an opportunity, it will take over, right? It'll kick out the good guys and it'll just have its own party, and that can create a whole host of health consequences. So these are causes of candida and yeast overgrowth. Antibiotics and alcohol and chronic stress, again, chlorine in our water. It can be sexually transmitted, and this is something when you think about treatment of candida, is oftentimes in my practice. In my early years, I didn't think about this possibility. I would treat one of the spouses, and they would kept getting reinfected, right? Because I didn't realize their partner also had candida problems, and I had to treat both of them. And so, welcome, Shaniqua. So cigarette smoke, toxic mercury, dental fillings, steroids, NSAIDs, loss of good bacteria in the gut, excessive sweets and sugars, and even fake sugars, or what can cause an imbalance in the gut to let that candida, let that yeast take control and thrive and grow and overgrow, is what we're really talking about. So these are overgrowth symptoms that you might experience if you do have candida. We're going to talk about ways to detect this. Skin and nail fungal infections, for example, in your nails, especially in your toenails. This is the first place it often will show up. Athlete's foot, ringworm, digestive issues, like we said before with leaky gut, a whole host of potential digestive issues. The brain, right? They call our gut the second brain. So if we're going to have an infection in the brain, or in our second brain in the gut, we're likely going to have trouble with cognitive issues, right? Irritability and mood swings. Yeast or candida is of course the common species, right? Can actually make you crave sugar and carbs, right? As if it wasn't hard enough to avoid. So if you got an infection, right, you're going to crave it even more. Feeling tired, chronic fatigue, autoimmune disease. Again, candida can be an underlying trigger or cause of autoimmune disease. Skin issues, vaginal infections, heightening seasonal allergies. So these are potential candida symptoms, right, which we're talking about as a cause or potential cause for leaky gut. So this is monostat, and this He says, well, it happens. So sorry, that was, I should get some more laughs from that. I looked really hard for a yeast funny, right? For a yeast cartoon. You know how hard it is to find a cartoon about yeast infections. Okay. Anyway,
you did good.
so
You did
thank
good.
you. So candida testing. So how do we test to know if we've got candida in there? Well, first I'm going to, a spit test you can actually do at home. I'm going to show you next. There's blood testing. You can look for antibodies to candida in your bloodstream. It can do blood testing for that. There is a test called organic acids test, which is actually a urine test where they look for different metabolites and different toxins released by the fungus itself or by the yeast. We can do stool analysis, and I do this a lot. They'll do cultures, let us know exactly what kind of species that we're dealing with. They'll do microscopic testing. Wouldn't you like to have that job as as a technician, right? And now we've even got DNA testing that you can do through stool analysis, where you can tell the exact DNA of the critters that are in there, both good and bad. So there's lots of testing that can be done to detect this. This is something I encourage you guys to do. You don't have to do it right now on camera, but well, that could be fun, but we won't do that tonight. So you get a little glass of water, right? And you do this first thing in the morning. And what you do is you get the glass of water, a clear glass, so you can easily see down in the glass, and you work up a little saliva in your mouth and you spit right in the top of the water, okay? Now, if you have a candida overgrowth, what you're going to see is one of three things. You're going to see these little tentacle structures kind of start to hang down, and a lot of times they'll hang down even farther than this. It's gross. It looks like some kind of slimy octopus thing. But anyway, or it will sink all the way to the bottom like this, like one big glob down here. Or you'll have these cloudy, speckledy things kind of floating in there. Now, if you don't have candida, your saliva should just kind of sit on the top. So if in 15 minutes your saliva is right on the top, then it's not likely that you have candida. If it's doing one of these three things, it's a very good chance. Now, that sounds kind of funny and kind of a weird test. And when I first heard it, I didn't believe it. So of course, being in Missouri, the show me say it, I'm like, okay, I've got to try it out, right? So I tried it. I had patients try it, and it really it coincided often with actual candida overgrowth. So this is just a fun test you can do at home. Well, I'm a doctor, so I guess I can call it fun. That might be kind of weird, but you can do that. Here's another test. Look at your tongue, right? We could all stick out our tongue here and we could look at each other's tongue, but this is a common place that yeast will show up, is a film, a white coating on your tongue that you have to brush off each morning, right? That's often a sign of candida overgrowth. And another thing is these really thick, yellowish, discolored nails, especially in the toes. Can be, we can get just a topical infection in the toenail, that's possible. But oftentimes it's a symptom of a more systemic problem of yeast overgrowth in the body. Now, sometimes this can also be found in just really poor circulation, and it's also common in people that have a low thyroid, and not always just yeast related, but it is a common finding. So what do we do about the yeast? Well, first, it would be a good idea to kill off the yeast. When you agree, we want to get rid of that yeast overgrowth so that it can't take over and have a party and control the whole environment inside, because it's very toxic in and of itself. Yeast releases toxins that burdens down our liver, and then the whole host of things that we saw as far as health consequences that candida can cause. So we avoid these things, right? We added sugars, we avoid the mushrooms, which is fungus in and of itself. We avoid or reduce dairy products, fast foods, gluten, starchy vegetables, high sugar fruit, and alcohol. And these are some foods we might make sure we are including in our diet. Would be kind of an anti-candida or an anti-yeast type of diet. So during the time we're treating that, we would want to include these types of, we don't avoid these foods and include these other types of foods to discourage the yeast, right? We want to starve it so that it can't thrive, multiply, and continue to and have a party in there. So I'm going to get a quick drink All right, these are some really great anti-candida herbs. So we would want to not only starve it, but at the same time, let's do something antifungal in nature, right? That we can reduce the quantity of those yeast in our GI tract. So our good guys can get the upper hand and we can get more of a balance and harmony restored back in the GI tract. So these are some anti-candida herbs. Some of my favorite ones to use, grapefruit seed extract is probably one of my very favorite, and turmeric or the extract called curcumin are very good at killing yeast. Oregano is as well, and there's just some ones that you could choose from. Candida is tricky. I wouldn't just use one thing. I would use multiple things, okay? Because just like bacteria can, yeast can develop resistance to whatever thing you might be trying to kill it with, whether it's a prescription, whether it's natural. And so if you come against it with multiple things that have anti-fungal capabilities, antimicrobial action, we're going to have better likelihood of success. Another thing is, of course, you want to get those good guys. You want to get those probiotics, right? We want to use those to build up those good guys so that we can restore that, again, that balance and that harmony. Okay, so that was, we took a brief side turn talking about candida, right, as one of those many causes at the first of leaky gut. So now we're kind of returning back to our leaky gut conversation. And let me slide the screen over just a little bit so I can, and Shaniqua, I don't know if you put your hand up on purpose, but promise we will get to you. And this is a picture. This over here would be a normal gut lining. So if we cut through the intestinal lining and we looked at it on its side, this is what those cells look like, or what they should look like in a healthy gut lining, okay? Now, all of those things that we said that can cause irritation on the gut and damage and inflammation and all of these things starts to wear on these. See these little villi here? This is where we absorb our nutrients and these little hair-like projections. And you see these kind of get chewed up and chewed off over here. That's exactly what it looks like, even in microscopic studies, that those get chewed up, and we see these where the cells come together. These are called tight junctions, right? And you can see over here, these junctions aren't so tight anymore, okay? So this is exactly where the term leaky comes from. So things that aren't supposed to are escaping through this intestinal lining, right? And right here is the bloodstream. Okay, this is where our immune system lies. Okay, so we have things, we have these microorganisms. We'll pretend like these here. These are the yeast, right? And then we've had these drugs, the NSAIDs or the steroids or the antibiotics that have caused some imbalance. We have those microbes, and then we have this food here. Let's call this gluten. So now this gluten protein is escaping prematurely through this intestinal lining into the bloodstream. So the immune system sees it, says, "What the heck is that?" And it over time can start to label some of those foods as bad guys, right? And once the immune system labels that food as a bad guy, it doesn't try to figure it out anymore, right? It's convinced. It puts up the wanted posters, to kill on sight, tells all of its buddies. And every time that food comes across there, it creates an immune response or an immune reaction, an allergic response, which creates more inflammation and all of the whole host of possible side effects or symptoms that food sensitivities can cause to the immune system, including, if you see down here, compromised immune system, allergies, asthma, eczema, increased risk for autoimmune diseases, nutrient malabsorption, especially vitamins D, K, B12, and magnesium. And so that's kind of just a picture of leaky gut. And now you can kind of see visually why we call that leaky and where that term came from. We're going to talk briefly about how we can detect leaky gut. One thing you could do is a blood test. This zonulin is a protein that actually causes those tight junctions to remain tight. When we have some of that stress on that intestinal lining and that inflammation, that zonulin will increase, separating and those tight junctions and creating that leaky gut situation. And so one thing we can monitor in the blood is actually we can measure this protein called zonulin. And if it's increased, we know we're dealing with the leaky gut situation. Okay. The food intolerance testing, we do a lot of this. It's a blood test. I do one that's 96 foods. I do another one that's 184 foods, and it tells you exactly which foods your immune system is ticked off at, right? And so when we're trying to heal up this leaky gut situation, it's really a good idea to not eat those foods during that time. So we briefly take you off these foods, and this is when my patients don't like me, right? They start out liking me, and then they see this diet I put them on, they don't like me anymore, at least for a little while, till we get the gut healed up and their immune system calms down, and their autoimmune symptoms, if that's the situation, a lot of times those antibody levels drop, the immune system becomes happy again, because we're not constantly eating foods that's stirring up like a hornet's nest to attack us. And so we can do a blood test to determine food sensitivities. And then we can do stool tests, and we can look at the good guys. We can look if there's any bad guys. One of the benefits of doing a stool test is that they can also do sensitivity testing of that stool sample. It's a lot of fun. It's a test you do at home in the privacy of your own home. And you collect a little bit of a stool sample, and this goes to the lab, and the lab does the rest, okay? So they do microscopic studies, they do cultures in the Petri dish, right? And then they do sensitivity testing on that with both, several labs will do both natural agents and prescription agents, depending on what route you want to go. And so that's really beneficial to know, for example, if on that list we talked about, we think of good, right? That's what we see in Missouri. But grapeseed extract kicked its butt, right? It did really well. So when we're putting together some type of a treatment arsenal, we know exactly what agents we're gonna include in that protocol to help get rid of that yeast. So a leaky gut diet. This is just a standard leaky gut protocol to help calm down an anti-inflammatory type diet, removing the sugars, the starches, the grains, those oils that we talked about, nightshades, dairy, food additives, food allergies, if we've done that testing. Very helpful. We still need to run some tests, Mr. Glavner, but we think you may have leaky gut syndrome. All right, a couple smiles, thank you. Repairing leaky gut, we've got to talk about some things that actually help patch up, right? What can we do to patch up that leaky gut? L-glutamine is an amino acid that actually helps heal those tight junctions. Bone broth has many nutrients, including collagen, which is very full. Quercetin, inflammatory benefits and benefit. Ginger is amazing, as we've probably all know or have heard, and curcumin is one of my favorite tools to use in repairing leaky gut. Hold on just a second here. All right, guys, are you dropping any questions in the chat box? Please do. And so, talking about curcumin, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the research that's out there, right? It's one thing to just say, you know, Dr. Jeremy said that curcumin could help this, or but when we have volumes of research out there in published medical journals, then that gets my attention, right? That the studies are actually backing up what we've known for many years about curcumin and its benefits to human health. This study here in the American Journal of Physiology and Cell Physiology, curcumin improves intestinal barrier function. It modulates intracellular signaling and organization of tight junctions. We talked about those tight junctions, right, in that intestinal border. And the major site of action of curcumin, therefore, is likely the intestinal epithelial cells. Boy, these are big words for this Missouri boy. And the intestinal barrier, and by reducing the intestinal barrier dysfunction. Curcumin modulates chronic inflammatory diseases despite poor bioavailability. That's another topic we're going to briefly touch on here in a second. Curcumin and intestinal inflammatory diseases. So inflammatory diseases include things like Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, and celiac, and things like that. Curcumin can help tame the inflammation involved. It improves intestinal barrier function. In this review, we explore the potential therapeutic properties of curcumin on intestinal inflammatory diseases, including its antimicrobial, interesting, immunomodulatory properties, as well as its potential to alter the intestinal microbiome. That's huge. Curcumin may play a significant role in intestinal inflammatory disease treatment in the future. And we're going to share some things where actually the future is right now. Curcumin is a promising anti-candidal of clinical interest. Okay, so in this study here, they did 14 strains of Candida. Curcumin displayed antifungal properties against all tested Candida strains. So that's pretty powerful right there. Another anti-Candida activity of curcumin, they said this compound and its derivatives have numerous biological properties, including antioxidant, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and healing effects. The significant antifungal activity is one of the major effects of curcumin. So the neat thing about curcumin is it's really an all-in-one. A lot of times we would use different things to accomplish different missions in this healing journey, right? We might use something to help with the inflammation that's going on with the leaky gut, right? Then we might want to use something else to help strengthen and patch up the damage in there and repair those tight junctions, okay? Then we might use something else to calm the immune activity that's going on with all of those, right? And then we probably would use something else entirely to treat the infection or the candida that's going on there. Well, guess what? Curcumin does all of it in one. It's truly amazing in the treatment of GI issues, especially when it's related to infection, autoimmune activity, and inflammation, which of course all circles around leaky gut. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about a brand new, Lucy's just entering, she's missed all the good stuff. One of the things that was briefly mentioned in one of the other studies was bioavailability, and this has been a struggle for me as a practitioner for many years. Using turmeric and curcumin in a supplement form has been a struggle because most traditional formulas on the market, well, curcumin in of itself, just briefly, is a lipid-like substance, okay, first of all. And we're trying to get a lipid-like substance through our digestive system in a capsule, in a powder, in a liquid, whatever it might be. And then we got to get it through the digestive system, past the liver, into the bloodstream, into the cells, right, into the rest of the tissues. And in our bloodstream is mostly water. So getting a lipid-like substance first into the bloodstream is nearly impossible in and of itself. And then what this study points out is that the major reasons contributing to low plasma and tissue levels of curcumin appears to be due to poor absorption, right? The lipid and oil, the oil and water don't mix. Whoops, I'm skipping. Where'd it go? Okay. Rapid metabolism, it's broken down quickly in the liver, and it's rapid systemic elimination, so it's excreted super quick. So whatever we manage to get through the digestive process, through the bloodstream, into the cells, it's rapidly broken down and excreted. And so this was a challenge in practice. I knew all the studies that showed what curcumin could do, but seeing that happen therapeutically in my patients was always a struggle. And so over the years, they tried different things to help curcumin be more bioavailable, and they would use like black pepper extract. That's one probably some of you have heard, or probably even tried, curcumin mixed with black pepper to help improve digestion, and to a certain degree, it could. It did improve absorption slightly. They've had liposomal formulas that have come out that also improved slightly above that, but it was still a struggle reaching therapeutic levels because you would have to dose very high and have to dose multiple times a day to keep anything in the bloodstream for any length of time to have action. And so this is why I'm excited about the brand new technology I mentioned that has just come to the US. It's actually a German technology that we have opportunity to share with you and share with the world, so the world, I should say. And that is a technology called BioMS. Okay, biotechnology with misosolubilisates. So say that 5 times fast. So I just prefer to say BioMS is the technology that basically they've taken they've overcome all the bioavailable problems that we've had with curcumin for forever. They shrink the curcumin particles down to less than 30 nanometers in size. So we have and if you, how small is that? Well, if you took your fingernail thickness and you were to make 1,000,000 slices in that thickness of your fingernail, one of those slices would be a nanometer. And so that's how small we're talking about particle size. And then not only that, but then they wrap it in a micelle, right? That blue structure around it is able to carry that curcumin particle easily in oil or water. It travels easily through the digestive system. It easily absorbs into the bloodstream, easily reaches into the cells. And one of the probably the miracles of this particular technology is is measurable in the bloodstream 24 hours later after a single dose, which has never been possible before. Like I mentioned, it's rapidly metabolized, rapidly excreted. So traditional curcumin or turmeric supplements are generally out of the body within 3 hours. So we've overcome that. So I'm super excited about this new technology. It's this is kind of what it looks like here. Is a little bottle. We call it our liquid gold. 277 times more bioavailable than traditional curcumin supplementation. And this is what has just completely changed for my practice and what I can do for my patients, especially in a single supplement that can do so much. And so, Anna, I could go on all night. I did better, 35 minutes, 34 minutes. And so anyway, I want to wrap that up. If somebody invited you to this and you're interested in maybe experiencing this new technology, reach out and we'll make sure that you get that information. But I want to pass it back to Anna and also see if there was any questions.
Yes, I saw a question here. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeremy. That was absolutely amazing. Once again, you made it very simple to understand. And the one question I saw here, I do know Shaniqua wants to get the recording. I'm not exactly sure who invited her here.
I did.
You did? Okay, well then that is your responsibility. How's that? I'll get that all ready for you and you can send that to her. And then Tiffany wanted to know, there's no definite set time for healing as bodies are different, but typically on average, what is the time frame that you see for a patient to completely heal their gut?
That's a very good question, and like she said, it's very difficult to answer. It depends on kind of the extent of the damage that's there prior, right, and how many years or decades that damage has been going on, and it also depends if the patient or the person experiencing the leaky gut and all of that is willing to make the steps forward in their health to reach that goal, right? Are they willing to make the lifestyle changes? Are they willing to change their diet? Are they willing to remove some of those triggers that caused the damage in the first place? But if somebody goes through and does all of the things, right, and they're compliant and they do the diet and they follow follow doctor's orders, so to speak, usually within 6 months. Wow. For most people, we're able to get that well handled and well healed. Of course, it depends on allergies and if there's any other underlying issues, if there's autoimmune disease that's connected to the leaky gut. So we have to look at all of that.
But there is hope, and that is huge. And so that is what we're here for. We are here to give you hope on your health journey. I find this product so amazing. I love listening to testimonies when people share, because this is just one of the many things that we hear people say, it changed my life in this. Like Kylie says, it's a blessing in a bottle. So
liquid blessing, that's for sure. And I don't know who all is on here. And I know there's probably people on here that have already experienced some health benefits, but specifically related to gut, is there anybody on here that's related to gut or leaky gut or digestion or any of those that has maybe a testimony just to briefly share? Feel free to unmute. Would love to hear that. And also, if there's any,
Hi, I'm Shaniqua Fitner,
hey,
and
Shaniqua,
I'm actually at the beginning of my transition into eating healthier and living better. I suffer from lupus, as the SLE. Um, I believe that my diet triggers a lot, and the leaky gut, I think I may have. I just recently did blood work, and Um, there's also something going on with my thyroid. So I had to do a sonogram for my thyroid because the numbers were abnormal um, when a doctor took the blood work. So I'm doing baby steps to trains because I really wanted to study and master being a holistic nutritionist.
awesome.
Um, yeah, but I'm at the beginning, and then what I'm doing is I'm substituting certain bad items, my bad, quote unquote, bad items, with organic, healthy fruits or vegetable or something. And I'm also trying to convert my children. That's hard to have children when we lived
Yeah.
a yucky life for so long, to have them convert. So I just wanted to share that with you. So you'll probably be hearing from me a lot with via messenger, with a
Oh,
ton of questions.
yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations in taking that step. Most people never get to that part, right? And that's what
Thank
it takes,
you.
is one step at a time, learning, applying what you learn, starting to change your diet. I don't like to use diet as a four-letter word, right? Changing
Okay,
your lifestyle, right? I like to
right.
use lifestyle.
That's
And
better. Yes, sounds like
exactly. But reach out. We have a community full of help and support. I would encourage you, Shaniqua, to look into this new technology to just kind of help you go further faster. And that's what I'm seeing in my patients. But thank you for sharing that, and continue to follow us every Thursday on here. We'd love to have you back.
Okay, it's every Thursday. Okay, great.
Yes, every,
Yeah, I definitely need the support because there's times when I walk past something and it smells good, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Let's get some, you know, let's go get some nuts, or let's go eat, munch on some berries, blackberries or something. I try to
There
keep
you
something
go.
healthy
There you
near me,
go.
you know. And also, um, I was an ex-smoker, and now I am now a smoker again. I am only 2 days detox from smoking. It's hard when I'm
Wow.
trying to do both, you know,
Pause
but
just for
I
that.
need to do it for my health, a health reason wise, because I am extremely inflamed, as well as I'm having so many flare-ups. Um,
Well, that's a great place to start, the smoking, and then start working on the diet, and you'll start to see that pay off in loads. And so, also, we can get you a copy of this recording if you want to go back and go through it.
Please, yes, I
I
need
can
it definitely.
I flew through a lot of that stuff, but yeah, we're going to be there for you as a support system, and we'd love to follow you on
Yeah,
your health journey.
thank
So
you. I need it. I need it because it's extremely hard. It is for me, and especially um, being a single parent of 5 children. You know, unable to work because of my health issue. It it becomes very stressful, and then I have one in college. Um, she's studying to be a neurosurgeon. Actually, yeah. So
proud
that's
mama.
yeah, definitely, because she got a full scholarship to do it.
wow.
She's got a 4.0 GPA on the dean's list her first semester. So yeah, I'm a definitely proud mom.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's also stressful because there's days she want to quit, and then I gotta stop, and that's where I'm like want to smoke because I'm trying to encourage her to stay where she's at. It's gonna get better. She's gonna reap the benefits sooner before she blinks an eye, her eyes or open them wide, she's going to see those benefits. And she hangs in there, but there's times where I have to be strong for her as well, just to give it that push, just to
Yeah.
hold her up. And that's where it's so hard. I'm trying to find other ways instead of medication, because the doctors, I feel like they just they keep giving me different medications for everything. I take tons of medication, and I'm trying to wean myself off of these medications. And people
Exactly.
tell me that it's very risky to do that, on your own. But I tell them, then, you know what? The doctors are going to say, well, you need it. You have to take it. You have to take this the rest of your life. And I feel if I change my diet, I won't need it. I can lose weight. I've put on 75 pounds since the pandemic. So,
Yeah,
that's
you
when
can
I
do it
started
in the
smoking again,
exactly. The answer is not always more medications. And the sad thing is, from a medical perspective with autoimmune disease, the only
Mhm.
thing typically that they work with is anti-inflammatory drugs like steroids,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
immune suppressants to suppress the immune system, which can help symptoms, but in the long run
Mhm.
isn't fixing anything. And we kind of need an immune system for other reasons. And so
Right.
it's very limited. But thank you for sharing. And
Yes, I
please,
appreciate it. I'm sorry, everyone. I took up time. I know everybody probably have questions, and I apologize. I just let it all out, and I appreciate all of you who are online, for allowing me to express myself and just tell my story.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. And
Yes,
Rick
thank you.
asks, do you think this will get into a healing crisis? And that's a depends, Rick. If, for example, there is a very large yeast overgrowth, right, and we do anything that's anti-yeast in nature that kills off that yeast, those yeast can spill out those toxins, and that can create some side effects or some die-off, which could sometimes be received as some unpleasant symptoms temporarily. But I haven't seen it be dramatic, and I haven't seen it be extensive with the curcumin technology.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good questions. Thank you guys for sharing.
I want to thank everyone for coming on tonight and asking your questions and being here and listening to the doctor. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeremy, again, for sharing all of your wisdom with us. Just know that we're not saying that we are treating, curing, preventing any of those things. We're just giving you knowledge and tools to work within your health journey. And so if you were invited here by somebody else and you're ready to try the product, reach out to that person. If you would like to be a part of a Facebook group where we do a lot of support, have a lot of testimonies, reach out to the person who invited you here. We also have those tools available to help you with that support. So we just want you to know that we are here to help you on this journey. And everybody take care. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you back this same time next week for a new topic with the doctor.
Bye, guys.
Bye.